Welcome back, everybody. This is the Creation Liberty Hour. This is show number 17 for December 5th, 2011. We're already in December. My name is Chris Johnson, the founder of Creation Liberty Evangelism, where our purpose is to win the lost to Christ and spread the truth of science and God's Word. We hold it without apology to the position that evolution is not just a dumb theory, it's also a very dangerous religion, one of the most destructive religions ever known to mankind. And if you're watching this for the first time, you can, or you're watching this a recording from YouTube. You can always join us in live chat. It's on Mondays, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at creationliberty.com. Just click on podcasts and it'll take you right into it. So I'm joined by Lorraine today. We're having a special episode. I have a guest host. Lorraine's going to join us because we've got a really good show for you to get. We have a good show for you guys today.
Well, now I don't have to be nervous about doing that.
I do it all the time. I'm not that great of a speaker, so anyway. So first we're going to discuss the gay gene. Okay, somebody asked last week, is there such thing as a gay gene? We're going to talk about that today. And then for the second half of the show, Lorraine's going to give us some really good information on genetically modified foods and what to watch out for concerning that. So be sure to post your questions in our chat room, and we will get to them as time allows, okay? So I want to point you guys to an article, because I wrote an article on this topic. I think it was Brett who joined us last week. I can't remember if that was him or not. And he asked about the gay gene. And so I wrote some on this because really I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it because it's not really even they don't have a good argument for this one, for people that are trying to find an excuse for it. So let me open this up and I'll point you guys to it. If you go into our Q&A section, it's titled, Is There a Gay Gene? And you guys should be able to see this on the screen right now. Basically, for those of you who think there is, something to, that the Bible supports homosexuality, it does not, okay? Leviticus, where it says, Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind, it is abomination. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lie with a woman, both of them have committed abomination. And that kind of thing. So this is all, the Bible is very clear on this, especially in the book of Romans. I want to double check, make sure you guys can see this. In the book of Romans, it says, Who changed the truth of God into a lie, for even their women did change the natural use of that which is against nature, and likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust toward one another, men with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meet. The Bible is very clear on this. The homosexuality is wrong. There's no way around this. There's no way to justify it, okay? Unless you want to go into how, people are trying to use a different Bible version, like they'll use the NIV or something like that to try to justify their wicked lifestyle. And that's been done. There's an article I have on there that discusses that. Did we discuss that on the show? I don't remember. I don't remember. But it's called I can't remember what it's called. It's about gays in the NIV. Actually, I think I have a link to it at the top of this article. So if you're looking at it, it's there. You can go click on that and check that out. So to give the definition, I want to give a definition of abomination. It's defilement, pollution in a physical sense, or evil doctrines and practices which are moral defilements. So homosexuality is an abomination to God, okay? And there's a lot of people that are trying to mix the gay community with the Christian community, okay? And this guy that I quote from here, Howard Dean, he says, from a religious point of view, if God had thought homosexuality is a sin, he would not have created gay people. Well, message for you. God did not create gay people, okay? The problem is that what mankind does is they create a God to suit themselves. It's idolatry, okay? It's breaking the second commandment. You're not supposed to make a God in the image you want him to be in. You either take the biblical God as he is, or you don't, okay? If you don't, and you want to say, well, the God I imagine, blah, 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 okay, that's your imagination. That's not the God of the Bible. That's idolatry. You have created another God. So we have to be careful about that kind of thing. And just looking over a few things here, because I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Basically, what has always been done throughout history, mankind does. A long time ago, when you have like the Greek and Norse and Egyptian gods, what they'll do is they'll take the sun god, the moon god, the god of the stars, the god of war, the god of this and that. What they'll do is take phenomena that is not well understood, things like love and that kind of thing. They'll take something like that and apply it and try to justify it. Okay, they always take something natural like the sun. And okay, so they didn't understand what the sun was. And so, because they didn't understand it, they used it to try to justify their wicked lifestyle by creating a god. And many times, if you read, I mean, I took mythology courses. I don't know if you did in college or not.
Not in college.
Not in college, just in high school?
Yeah, well, actually, it was in like middle school.
I took them in both, actually, because I high school and college both. And I can tell, I mean, college, it gets worse. They'll show you all the nitty gritty details, but the stories they create from that, just it's all, I mean, it's fornication, it's all these things that people do to one another, and they say, well, if the gods do it, then we can do it too, and it's justified. That's what they do. So what they're doing here is, now we as mankind do not understand the genetic code that God gave us. Okay, we're in Sesame Street concerning the genetic code, and the thing is, it's not something we very much understand. And so what they're trying to do, as we're in a position that we don't understand it, they're taking something natural and trying to use it to justify their wicked lifestyle, which is where they came up with the idea for the gay gene. And trust me, it's not just the gay gene. They've tried to do it for alcoholism. They've tried to do it for fornication. They tried to do it for shopping. There's all sorts of stuff that they've tried to make a genetic disorder for. And you can check, I forget what the abbreviation is for that, what's that psychiatrist document? Do you know the one I'm talking about? And I can't remember which one it is. I'd have to look it up again.
Documentary?
No, the document. I said I'll look it up later. Don't worry about it. If somebody has a question, just send me an email or something. I'll send you exactly what I'm talking about. But they list all sorts of things as genetic disorders, and they try to give pills for all that stuff. You remember the Marketing of Madness? You're the one that showed me that, weren't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the documentary. You should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The Marketing of Madness. Actually, if you go to my YouTube channel, I have a playlist for all the parts to it, so you can just click on the playlist and watch the whole thing straight through if you want.
It's really quite good.
Yeah, so you can find that on the Creation Liberty YouTube channel if you click on the website, or you can look it up, or if you're on YouTube now and you're watching this, hey, just go to the channel and check it out. But anyhow, let me switch this over so you guys can see this on the article. The study commonly pointed out in discussion by those who support gays is the Bailey and Pillard study. The Bailey and Pillard study attempted to prove that the gay gene, by showing that between identical twins, if one was gay, the other would also be gay. Their initial gathering of case studies was flawed, as they posted an ad looking for gays with an identical twin brother, regardless of the sexual orientation of his twin, but those with a gay twin brother would be much more willing to answer the ad than those with a straight brother. However, what they ignored was that their results should have been nearly 100%. Now, I could even understand if it wasn't exactly 100%. But there should have been a huge majority if there was a gay gene, but the Bailey and Pillard study ended up showing that in nearly half of the twins studied, one brother was not homosexual. So even in the flawed gathering of information, there's still a problem. This is on top of the flawed gathering of information. I'm wondering if the statistics were even worse than this. So, but and this this is from Science magazine, talking about male homosexuality. It says the biological brothers and adoptive brothers showed approximately the same rates. This latter observation suggests that there is no genetic component, but rather an environmental component shared in families. Let me explain exactly what they're talking about here. When they say there is no genetic component, there is no such thing as a gay gene. Okay, that was in Science magazine. They're saying, look, it just doesn't exist. You can believe in it to try to justify your wicked lifestyle, but there's no indication of that. And what they instead said is that there is a environmental component. That means there are problems in the home, in the families, and that's where this is coming from. And I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, I had a lady I used to work with, okay? A girl about my age. She was really nice. We became friends and started talking, but she was openly expressed lesbian, and she had a girlfriend that she lived with and all that stuff. Over the course of our conversations, we had got to talking about how she had all sorts of problems with her dad, and her dad was never there for her, and things like that. And the example that her dad gave to her mom was not good, and all these kind of things. And then, one day I was talking to her about how I was reading some books and how there's an author that was attributing, and I agree, attributed many of the problems in this nation to dads who aren't living up to the Christian standard they ought to be, and how if we had better dads in this country, it would solve all sorts of problems. And she proceeded to make the following statement. She said, well, I had a bad dad growing up and I turned out just fine. She could not see, just couldn't see it. It just how do you help that, So I didn't say nothing to her. She just couldn't see it. So I said, well, I'll just remember that as an example, and we'll do that later. Also, if this is too loud or something, I adjusted the volume. Please let me know. Anybody in the chat room, if I've adjusted the volume too loud. But I just we're in a different setting because I came home from work and there were puzzle pieces all over the kitchen table. So I don't know who put them there.
It's a mystery puzzle.
So anyway, the thing is, let me put this from. This is a book called "Press Bias in Politics: How Media Frame the Media Frame Controversial Issues." It says, from Dr. Clinton Anderson, he says, to date, no researcher has claimed that genes can determine sexual orientation. No human behavior, let alone sexual behavior, has been connected to genetic markers to date. That means, he says, look, to date, there's been no indication that there is any gay gene. Sorry, guys, if you want to use that, look, you can believe whatever you want. But if you want to believe there's a gay gene, that's your religious belief. That's not part of science. So let me wrap this up. Let you guys went home. We'll say what homosexuality is not. Homosexuality is not acceptable to God. Homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. You can check 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 10. Homosexuality is not genetic. Okay, check Genesis chapter 2, 22 through 24. Homosexuality is not a disease. Homosexuality is not a social disorder. But I'll tell you what homosexuality is. Homosexuality is an abomination. You check Leviticus 20:13. Homosexuality is a choice. Now, you might have certain feelings, but there is nowhere in the Bible where God justifies sin because you felt a certain way, okay? You were given a gender you have for a specific purpose, so own up to it, get your heart right with God, and go do what He's commanded us to do. That's what we're given commandments, so let's follow them. So that's about all there is really to say about that. I didn't want to spend too much time on it because really there's no argument for it. I mean, there's all sorts of things out. People have written books and people have written articles saying, "Oh yes, there's a gay gene," but they don't really have any evidence for this. They always point to this Bailey and Pillard study or one similar to it, and it's flawed the way they set them up. Number one, and number two, the results do not pull back what they should if there was a gay gene. If these identical twins, born at the same time of the same mother in the same way, have all the identities, then they should both be gay, but they end up not being. So it becomes a choice based on environment. So I was checking the chat room here to see if we have any questions. So far, so good. No questions on that. And if you guys have any questions on that later, you're welcome to post that, and I can answer them next week, or if we have time at the end of the episode, we can do that. So for now, we're going to move on to Lorraine, because Lorraine has some very interesting things she wants to share with us about genetically modified foods, and that is, when you hear the term GMO, it took me forever to figure this out. I didn't know what GMO meant. It's genetically modified is what that stands for.
Organisms.
What? Genetically modified organisms. See, I was wrong again, so she had to correct me on that one. So she's my expert when it comes to that, so Lorraine, take it away.
I wouldn't say expert by any stretch of the imagination. I just, read a lot. So, a while back I started studying health and all that sort of thing because, I believe, as well as it says in the Bible, that we should, keep our bodies, for the Lord and to keep them clean as a temple, and therefore, because we're servants of God. So I started studying that sort of thing, and, why do you have that page?
I don't have it up right now.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anyway,
you're on.
Sorry. Threw me off a little. Anyway, so I got some notes here, so you'll have to forgive me if I read off of them. But basically I wanted to go over the basics. What's genetically modified food? What is it? Well, GMO, like I said, stands for genetically modified organism, which can be an animal or a plant. And basically what it is where they take DNA from another animal or another plant and they put it into the original animal or plant, and to alter it or make it better in some way, which really all it's doing is destroying the DNA that currently exists by adding in another form of DNA and it mutates and changes. Sometimes they'll do this with pesticides to make pest-resistant crops, and so then you end up eating the pesticide because it's been instilled in the plant itself, which is not good. I thought I would share some scary things to make you exceptionally scared of.
Now, we're not trying scare tactics.
No, but just to make you aware of the real dangers of genetically modified foods. What can it do to your body? Well, here is an extensive list and some examples to go along with it.
Before we continue, I want to make sure that everybody knows we are not, any kind of medical professionals or dietary professionals whatsoever, okay?
I'd like to be, but no.
Yeah, the choices that you make for you and your family is up to you, okay?
Yeah.
We're simply trying to educate. That's all we're doing, okay?
And, I don't buy entirely organic food for Chris and I. I can't. We are physically, financially unable to.
Yeah, it
gets expensive. So closer to the end of the program, I'm going to go through some ways that you can buy healthier food and still stay away from the genetically modified stuff.
Good. All right.
Genetically modified foods can cause, toxins, food allergies, infertility, infant mortality, immune dysfunction, stunted growth, accelerated aging, death, cancer, superviruses, spontaneous abortions in animals. And in certain studies, like GMPs have been caused lung damage in mice.
What's a GMP?
Genetically modified pea.
Oh, GMPs. Now I know it. Okay, I didn't get it. GMPs.
Yeah. So
I gotcha. All right,
genetically modified peas. Offsprings of rats fed GM soy showed a 5-fold increase in mortality, lower birth weights, and the inability to reproduce. GM potatoes caused cancer in rats. Bacteria in your gut can make up DNA from GM food. Also, when you ingest GM foods, genetically modified foods, it really disturbs the bacteria and flora in your gut, and it can make you incredibly ill. GM corn caused a wide variety of immune responses in mice, commonly associated with diseases such as arthritis, Lou Gehrig's disease, osteoporosis. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I always get the word letters mixed up.
Like I said, we're not medical professionals.
Inflammatory bowel disease. Investigators in India have documented fertility problems, abortions, premature births, and other serious health issues, including deaths among buffaloes fed GM cottonseed products. GM foods led to significant organ disruptions in mice, rats, specifically the kidney, liver, and heart and spleen. So it's really overall not good for you. So we got that established.
Now, where are you getting some of that information from?
I have favored Mercola.com. They have an excellent selection of articles that goes over a bunch of different topics, not including GM, but also it covers the gamut. It's really quite good for anything.
I've seen some of that. No, I don't agree with 100% of everything they teach.
Definitely not.
But they have a lot of really good material because she
really
sent me a lot.
I have. And they do a good job of sorting of what's the word?
Sorting out information?
No. Sorting their
You're going to have to move on probably because I don't know.
References. They reference stuff.
Okay.
Sorry.
But that's what we were wondering
Specifying.
where. I was just wondering where some of that information came from, and I'm sure some other people would want to know where they can find more. But we'll talk about that more in a minute because she's got some stuff she wants to show you guys.
Well, they also take excerpts from other places, and one of the books that they got a lot of information from is Seeds of Deception by Jeffrey M. Smith. I would like to get it. I haven't gotten it yet. I haven't read it, but
that book has come highly
really
recommended to
good.
me, and I don't have it. I don't think I have a copy of that.
No,
yet.
you don't.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
wish
Well,
we
you've been through my books already and see if I had a copy of it. I don't.
Well,
That's
I
a book
organized them the other day.
I want to get
So,
that book as well. So
so
it's something that
it's on our list.
Yeah.
List. Anyway, so the biggest genetically modified foods that we have in the United States that are produced en masse are soybean, corn, cotton, canola, and sugar beets. Was recently added in 2009. Now, when you go to the grocery store, most of the food that you see on the shelves and in the store in general is 75% or up of genetically modified foods. It can be hard to avoid, but if you get rid of the corn and the soy and canola, you're on the right path.
So why corn and soy specifically? Are you trying not to go into
I'm not honestly sure why. I mean, soy is just kind of like a booming, field, and then corn, I guess, I don't know, maybe they're easily manipulated. I'm not sure why those were the certain ones, but I mean, we already had a large, we in America we're known for corn and wheat and that sort of thing. So to take corn GM is not surprising, and
So
it's probably just based on what Monsanto wants to do.
Yeah, because that's the corporation to watch out for.
Yeah,
which
the
I'm sure
bad
you'll
guys.
talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, because it's like, you remember how they, because one of the people I heard is evidence for evolution, because this is, folks, whether you know it or not, the genetically modified argument actually comes from an evolutionary standpoint.
Yes, it does.
Not a natural creation standpoint.
No, they believe you can live off chemicals.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff, instead of what God created and the enzymes and everything that is live and in your food that you get from the earth. And when they
not the artificial enzymes they
exactly.
create. Yeah.
And when you put pesticides over stuff and then genetically modify everything, you're depleting the nutrition of the food. You're literally eating crap.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's like how the evolutionists have made an argument. About how, well, we've seen evolution in action because what they can do is double the number of chromosomes like strawberries will have. This is an argument I've heard them make. And so what they do is they make strawberries twice the normal size, and they say, see, we're getting more food out of it. But what they're actually doing is that you deplete the nutritional content.
No.
They taste pathetic.
Organic strawberries are fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous. And you're actually getting more. You can actually get more by eating less.
Yes.
And that's
actually gain more nutrition from an organic food than you will a non-organic.
You can get more. I'm not just talking about, nutrition-wise, but also sustenance-wise. You can get more from eating a banana than you can a bag of Doritos.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about the quantity that you're eating. It's about the quality that you're eating.
Quality, exactly.
Yeah. So I just want to ask if that's something similar that they're doing with the corn and things like that, trying to find ways that they can produce more without...
Well, that's ironic because GM foods actually, like corn, for example, actually produce 20% less.
Really?
Than non-genetically modified foods.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either until today. I was going through and, brushing up on this to talk about it, and it was in there. I was like, really? That's kind of stupid.
So maybe that leads us into the next question. Why?
Money. Gotta smell that money.
Well, you go on and talk about what you're going to say. I'm sorry, I got
well,
questions
when it
now.
comes to no, it's good. I'm glad you asked the questions. Monsanto, their basis, they're a money-hungry fiend, basically. And if you take a natural corn seed, for example, and you get your ear corn and everything, what farmers used to do was that they would set aside some of the corn for the next planting year. And, that way, you have a replenishable crop. You wouldn't have to buy as much seed. You could save money. Well, what Monsanto has done is they have, what's the word where you register something? Trademark. What's it? What's that word?
Copyright?
Yes.
Okay.
They have copyrighted their specific strains of corn. And if you are found using a strain of corn multiple years, like the next year, they will sue the farmer and take everything.
Wow.
They literally bankrupt a farmer. You can't do it. And so basically, they have to buy the seed, which costs a lot more. They have to use a lot more pesticides and herbicides and all that to actually make the corn grow. And then, you know, they get less, and they have to, they sell it, for probably below market standards. And, it's just basically they're digging themselves into a giant hole.
And
Farmers
so what it
don't
is,
make a living anymore, is what it comes down to.
yeah, and well, with what you just said there, I would encourage people, if you don't believe us, you don't have to take our word for it. Go talk to local farmers and see what they have to go through.
If they will talk to you about it, because they could
Yeah.
they could suspect you as a worker for Monsanto, which has happened. So just be careful. Talk to your close friends, not a stranger.
Yes, go talk to somebody you know who knows you, and that kind of thing. So basically, what they're doing is using the government to enforce their genetically modified foods.
Exactly.
Instead of allowing us to choose what we want.
Well, and that is interesting, because really what you can do is you can vote with your wallet. And it has made a difference recently. People are becoming more aware, and in the grocery stores and stuff, you see more and more natural and organic food sections popping up, and they're getting bigger and that sort of thing, which is great. It really is. We're not to the European standards yet, though. In Europe, the genetically modified foods are labeled as genetically modified, whereas in the United States, if it's organic, it's labeled organic. Everything else is kind of like a giant question mark. So, move to Europe.
Well, so
Not really, but
here's the thing that I'm suspecting already that people are going to do. Now, you can hear this information and you can go research it and things like that. But what a lot of people will do is that they'll hear this information and think, well, Lorraine just must be a hippie that, that's just one of those vegan hippies that, that's what they do, and then they blow it off. But here's what's going to happen. Later in their life, they're going to get ill, be in the hospital, have all sorts of cancerous problems, and go, why did this happen to me? God, why did you allow this to happen to me? Well, you have people telling you exactly. I mean, God said to eat the fruits, the vegetables, and the seeds, but the point is where are you getting them from? Who's tampered with them? So, I mean, the thing is...
the information's out there, and all you have to do is look for it.
Yeah, but the problem is that, you can't... a lot of people I see... questioning why. Well, we've done it to ourselves. So, you have to do something. You really have.
I mean, you can't just eat cake every day and expect to be healthy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
Now, not everybody out there does that.
No,
but there's an awful lot of people that they eat out all the time. They eat fried foods all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's just not going to help.
Hydrogenated oils are a gigantic no-no. Anyway, back to the topic. Some of you may be wondering, well, how does this keep coming up? How does Monsanto keep taking this over? Why do they get so much money for this? Well, Monsanto itself spends millions campaigning the government for legislation to do what they want. And
now, could you do me a favor, real quick, for everybody? If for the people out here who don't know what Monsanto is, can you give some familiarity to them for what?
You ever hear of Roundup? They own it.
So, anything else? They just anything else,
They produce seeds and corn, pesticides, herbicides, all that other stuff.
So basically, they're producing like
their
weed
history.
killer.
They actually used to be as something else, and they kind of transformed into this. I can't remember.
So
what
Roundup's the weed killer. The
yes.
stuff that isn't that the commercials where they spray the stuff on the little weed and it shrivels up? It's all cinematic. So
yeah, they have Roundup Ready corn. Be careful.
Oh, that's that's funny how when they're advertising their genetically modified foods, they don't advertise Roundup right next to it, do they?
Nope.
I don't think that'd make them much money.
Oh, here we go. Here's the notes I was looking for. All right. Basically, the reason that they're able to get away with it so much, and you're saying, well, what about the FDA and the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture? Why don't they do anything about it? Well, that's because they have all, at some point, or a large majority of them, have worked for Monsanto at some point. And they just kind of keep going. It's like a giant triangle. It's a revolving door. They go from one organization to another, to another, to another, and then back. And so they've got their ends. They've got people in high places, and they have the money. So that's how they stay in control, and they get the legislation that they want.
And keep in mind, these would have to be people who, a lot of these people know they know what is in the food that they're producing.
Yeah.
But they don't care. And I can tell you right
It's
now,
part of the whole
that
New
is
World
not
Order thing.
These are not Christian people who have a biblical mind who are doing this. These are people that have an evolutionary based mind. Why should I care what, if these people are getting ill or people are dying from these genetically modified foods if I make money? As long as it's beneficial for them at that time, that is an evolutionary mindset. It's survival of the fittest. Hey, we were smart enough to do this and you were dumb enough to buy it, so you should just die off. And even though people might not, if they sit down in a bar with you and you're talking with them, they're not going to say that to you. But in the back of their mind, that's the mindset.
Well.
You have to have that mindset. I mean, you can't just, be like Hitler's guards, shooting Jews in the face or burying them alive as they did in the Holocaust without having a mindset, a philosophy that teaches you that's right. And so this mindset and philosophy they have is teaching them it's okay to injure people by the masses so long as you make a profit.
Yeah. I have an example here of the USDA in action. Most recently, the USDA approved planting of GM alfalfa, the fourth largest crop in the United States, without restriction, despite massive opposition and serious concerns to its potential to cross-pollinate and transfer genetic material is very high, if not guaranteed. Because it's natural forage for pastured, organically raised, grass-fed animals, contamination would be disastrous for organic dairy and cattle farmers, as federal organic standards forbid them from using GM crops. Not to mention Monsanto's history of both suing both conventional and organic farmers for patent infringement should their crops be cross-contaminated. So even though they don't have any way of controlling this air pollination to other fields, they'll sue you for it.
So basically, they can sue you on suspicion.
Yeah.
It's not.
Actually, they have a way of testing, but this just goes to show that it's not right, and you have to be really careful about not only the food, your vegetables, and the processed food and whatnot that you pick off the shelves. So you got to be careful with your meat, your dairy, your eggs, everything, because you get those from animals and they take in the nutrients of what they eat. And a lot of the stuff that they feed these animals, the conventionally raised ones, is terrible. It really is.
The documentary Food Inc. If you've not watched Food Inc., the last couple, remember our friends from Minneapolis who had watched that, she actually, and these are people that will, go out to McDonald's every now and again. When they watched that, they said, we did not eat meat for 2 weeks after that. They couldn't even stand to. Because of some of the conditions, these cows, pigs, chickens, especially the chickens, my gosh, when I saw that. Now look, for those of you...
It's sad.
Let me explain something. For those of you who are seeing this, even though a lot of this is scary, okay, first of all, especially for you Christians, look, you're saved. You have the salvation of Jesus Christ. If you eat these bad things, you're not going to hell because, you ate something bad.
Certainly not.
And it's not a requirement for salvation. But in order to do the work we're going to do, we need to be healthy. I mean,
you can't, healthy body, and more especially a healthy mind.
If you're sick and in the hospital, you can't spread the gospel. So
if you are feeding your body toxins, your mind is not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's right.
I could talk forever on soda, but that's another story for another time.
We could talk on Alzheimer's and all sorts of other things that, why that kind of stuff is popping up. And
okay.
We could talk about the chemicals that are going in, the metals that are going in, all sorts of stuff like that. Even I know something about those.
So. Oh, yes. He's a very smart boy.
So what else you got?
Man. Well,
did you have something you wanted to show them?
We're going to get to the happy part. Yeah, that's where the happy thing comes in. So
okay, because you said solutions, right?
Yes, solutions.
All right, great.
So, now, when you go to the grocery store, those lovely little stickers that are put on every piece of vegetable and fruit in there? Mm-hmm. Well, they serve a purpose. And it's not just, for you to scan across. The numbers on, fruits and vegetables, like on bananas, it's, 4114, I believe. All those serve a purpose, and so if you have 4 digits, it means it's conventionally grown. Now, if there's 5 digits and it begins with a 9, that means it's organic. But I learned this is new. I didn't know this. If it has 5 digits and begins with an 8, that means it's genetically modified. I'm going to have to look in the grocery store for that one because I didn't know about that. I was surprised. Now, like I was saying earlier, we can't all, go and buy completely organic, fruits and vegetables all the time. Certainly not. When organic milk is pricey. Personally, I buy almond milk because really a high intake of dairy is not the greatest thing for most people.
I'm putting this.
Oh.
No, we'll put GMO. I'm going to put this guy on the screen for you guys, so I'm going to give an example. Is this correct?
No. With 5 letters, it's GMO and it starts with an 8. That's the second one's conventional.
Okay, so it's this, right? And we'll put
Yes.
like that. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the screen for you guys.
With an 8.
With an 8. There we go. Okay.
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna put
like
this
conventionally,
up
the other
here.
stuff it can start with a 3 or 4 or whatever. I was just using the bananas as an example.
So this one she's talking about, if it starts with a 9, it's got 5 digits, starts with a 9. I've seen her do this in the grocery store too. That's the organic one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so something that you can have things, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lorraine, you can have things that are labeled organic that aren't organic, and you have to check
Correct.
that number. So you got to be careful.
You have to be
She
careful.
taught me that.
There was an article like maybe a year or 2 ago that came out about Whole Foods and how, they had mislabeled some things, which was unfortunate.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You're right.
But they have changed. They've improved. They've done a spectacular job. I love Whole Foods. I wish there was one closer to us.
Yeah.
But there's not.
So anyway, remember if it's got the 4 digits, you said with a 4, it's conventional.
Yes.
The 5 digits, if it has an 8, that's GMO.
Correct.
But the one you're really looking for, the best ones you're going to look for, have 5 digits starting with a 9. I just want to reiterate that, so that way people who are looking for that, they can go back and watch this and have a visual they can go to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So obviously the best thing would be organic, and the next step down would be to look for non-GMO labels. There are labels. Now, to know if it's organic or not, it will say on there, and on the ingredients panel, it will list organic in front of like every ingredient. The really, really good ones will have the USDA organic label on them, which means it's like 90% or more organic. I can't remember, but anyway.
So it's the most organic.
For the most part.
Okay.
Ish. I'm going to put an ish on there because I'm not 100%.
So repeat that, USDA organic is what a lot of people look for. Okay.
It's a green label. Green little seal. With white and USDA written in green. Anyway, back to the fruits and vegetables. Can you bring up that other list, please?
Sure, yeah.
Now, I don't buy everything organic. Most citruses and stuff, I just get the conventional because I figure, hey, they got a peel on them. And most things are grown conventionally, which means they're just coated with pesticides and herbicides. So if they have like a big, thick, heavy-duty peel on them, and you're not going to zest it for okay, then then it's in my mind it's okay to eat. But that's for each person to decide. That's just what I do. Now this is called the Dirty Dozen. Basically, it's put out by
foodnews.org, the Environmental Working Group.
Thank you. Wonderful voice on that.
Well, you're biased. Keep going.
Well, no, but that was like radio. It was cool. Anyway.
Okay, keep going. So what is this? Tell us what
basically, it gives the list of the most 12 the dirtiest. So that's the ones that use the most pesticides and herbicides on them. So it's really best to buy them organic. I try to always buy organic apples because I don't want that stuff in our bodies. And I was actually surprised by the kale because seriously, when we grew kale, you really didn't need to do anything to it. I was surprised about that one, but strawberries are on there, and any berry is generally going to be coated. So oh man, I meant to bring that bottle in here.
Oh.
Can you bring it in?
Which bottle do you want?
The one on the windowsill of the kitchen.
Okay, I'll be right back.
I use this great cleaner that will remove all the herbicides and pesticides residue that are left on them, on your fruit. You know, like on grapes where you see that film. Well, you spray this on, leave it on there for 30 seconds, rub it off a little bit, and then rinse it with water. It makes them gleam and shine and gets rid of all that gunk. Anyway, so this list here goes over, what are the cleanest, which means the least pesticides and herbicides on them. There's a wide variety.
Okay, since you've already described it to them, let me go back and let's put the camera on here so you can.
Yeah.
This is the stuff. We're not endorsing a product. I'm just saying she's giving an example of something.
Now, I read about this in a magazine, and I was like, that's fantastic. I got to get it. Yeah. So I did. It's all natural.
This is not. We're not affiliated with them. We're not endorsing a product.
I
have to say that
stuff. We don't make any money from it at all.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, like you can eat it, and it's not going to hurt you.
So, all right. Yeah, so you explained it to him. I just wanted to show him what it was. So we'll go back to the.
Thank you for getting that. I appreciate it. But yeah, there's the dirty dozen and the clean ones. Generally, anything with a nice, good peel on it. You don't have to worry about. I have heard rumblings about pineapple becoming genetically modified, so you may want to do your research on that. Along with kiwi and papaya from Hawaii. But other than that, basically everything on there is okay. Now, I know you see like the seedless watermelon in the stores, and I didn't know this, but I had thought they were genetically modified, even though like you can get strains that don't have seeds, but they're actually not. They are just that variety that have become terribly popular. I like the ones with seeds. I'm a traditionalist. So, anyway, that basically summarizes my little spiel here. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I think there was one question on here I wanted to get to. Jewel says, my friend is on dial-up and she is getting over bacterial infection of the bowels and colon. And so, is Lorraine going to write an article on this? I would like to send it to a friend.
Oh, I could, I guess.
Well, if you wanted to, and put an overview of what you talked about today, and put some of the references on there, we can put it on the website.
But if she's having bowel infection, what the problem probably is partially it's going to be food, but also you really she should get on a probiotic post-haste. Not probiotic? Yeah, probiotic. Yeah, it's a supplement you can take that will help build the healthy bacteria and flora in your gut, and that will build your immune system and get rid of an infection.
So you said it's a probiotic.
Yes.
Okay, just to double check.
Instead of antibiotic, where it kills everything you need to try and get rid of an infection. Which is not good.
All right. Well, that makes sense to me now. I'm glad you explained that. So now when you say that, I'll know what you mean.
That's your little strawberry tablet that you take.
Yeah, I remember. She's got me on some of that stuff, and it actually has worked. It's helped. I mean, there's actually, because there's, everybody has gone through certain digestion issues and problems with that, and it's actually streamlined a lot of it, and you really don't even notice it since it's gone.
Yeah.
But then you look back, 3 months earlier, and you're like, wow, that really helped. So yeah, it has done some for us.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're about ready to wrap this up. That's probably all we've got for you today. If you guys want to do any more shows on GMOs and you want to get into any specific topics, you should probably go to creationliberty.com, click on Contact, and just write me an email and let me know. We can always bring Lorraine back on here and she can explain more to you guys. She's got a lot more information. She teaches me stuff still on all the specifics of it. But
I still learn too. So.
Oh man, we could probably do 5 episodes just on Monsanto and the deception that's behind that.
There are documentaries.
Again, if you want to look into it, because we could go in how Bill Gates has got his seed vaults that he's building up.
Yeah, he is pro Monsanto, baby.
These people think there is going that the end. The World War III is coming. It's going to destroy everything. So they have their billions of dollars worth of these seed vaults that they have stored back, and a lot of people.
Well, no, you can't. I was gonna copy and paste this thing in here.
You already talked about Mercola.
No. This is an article that's on Mercola.
I know that's my point. They can go on to Mercola.
I understand. Well, on Mercola, there's an article that goes over how soy can affect your child if you're thinking of having children and you eat soy on a regular basis. check it out.
So basically, if you go onto Mercola.com, and like I said, we're not affiliated with Mercola either. And like I said before, we don't agree with 100%
They're just
of what they
an
say.
excellent
Okay,
resource.
but they're a good resource for topics like this. We happen to, like a lot of what they produce on there. And I think what it has on here from the link, it says, "Don't eat these beans if you're thinking of having children." So if you look
Yes.
up that topic on Mercola, you can probably find that. And I'm sure Lorraine could reference to that if she writes an article in the future, and I'll be more than happy to put it on the website if you want to do that. Okay? So I think let's see, we're wrapping this up. Let's see here. I think that's all we've got for questions today. So I think you did pretty good, Lorraine.
Well, thank
We
you.
didn't have too many questions, so we got to the point. And just shout outs, thanks for joining us, Jewel. Josh came back on, and say hello to Josh. And I know Josh, I think he's friends with Brett. I can't remember if it was Josh last week or Brett last week that asked about the gay gene, but I think one of them, maybe both of them asked during the week.
They're the ones with the puppy from the church we went to, right?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of puppy was that?
Okay, Josh, if you're the ones, if you and Brett are friends, you got to say something on the chat, because Lorraine is trying to figure out. When we went to this church,
What
they
breed
had
was
this
that dog?
tiny.
It was so adorable.
It was a tiny little
It was
puppy,
so cute.
and she was cuddling with. Anyway, she just wants to know the breed. So if you guys could, email it to me or tell us about it, afterwards, and we'd like to know that. Anyway, let me see here. According to my notes, I just wanted to give those shout outs.
Oh, it's a Shih Tzu. Those are
what?
Those are like the kind that don't shed, right?
Well,
'Cause
we'll figure it
I
out
know
later.
some
I'm
of
going to
them don't
I'm going to go ahead
shed.
and end this for now. We'll talk about it. We'll keep on the stream. We'll talk
I'll have
about
to
it
look that up.
after the show's over, okay?
They're so cute.
All right. Well, anyway, our next show is going to be show number 18.
Oh, I was right.
Our next show is going to be show number 18 for December 12th. And some future topics we're thinking about doing. If you guys have any questions, again, you go to our contact page and email me. We answer all sorts of questions. A lot of the topics we've been coming up with in the past few weeks have just been from people who attend our show, and they ask questions. So we'll cover your questions on the show, or if there's a past topic you want to go into detail, let me know. But we're thinking about doing some future topics on cavemen. Was there any cavemen according to evolution? And we're not talking about Osama bin Laden. And we'll talk about fasting. That's one of the things I might bring Lorraine back on the show to talk about fasting, the benefits of fasting. How there's a lot of people that whine and cry about it, but a good biblical fast can do your body a lot of good.
It really can.
And we'll also we're thinking about talking about vaccines, doing a little bit on that, and a lot more topics to come up. So stay tuned to us. And again, our next show next Monday is going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can join us in live chat on the website. You go to creationliberty.com, click on podcast. You can join us there. Creationist or evolutionist. We'll talk about your questions. We'll talk about your comments. And all that good stuff. So until next week, we will see you guys later, and you all have a good week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.